University in electrical and computing engineering, and she'll be informing us, or actually demystifying for us YouTube. So, Dina?
My presentation spurs from a class project. It was basically one of my first graduate courses in computer engineering, and it was a course about internet, which I thought was pretty neat. So I took more from a curiosity standpoint than actually what I'm going to do as a graduate student. And this project was a semester project, so it was a pretty involved project. It took a lot of data, a lot of time, and I tried to boil it down to the essentials. So I'm going to try to go through it as quickly as possible, pointing out kind of the interesting results that came out of it, and at the end, depending on questions, I can go more in depth into some of the things I did. I'm not sure how to. Okay, so the motivation for the project is that I took this class out of curiosity to start with. So YouTube was an extremely popular internet service. Everybody uses it, and I was completely clueless as to how it actually works. The videos are obviously stored somewhere, and they get to your computer somehow. But it's not really public knowledge. Google and YouTube keep this information private because it's their, the source of their business in delivering these services fast and efficiently. And YouTube was bought by Google about 2 years ago. And so I suspected that these services, the way that Google gets results to you very, very fast, might start to get integrated with the way YouTube gets videos to you, but that's something that hasn't been very researched recently. So in the research community, YouTube has always been kind of a mystery or an interesting topic, but as changes came recently with Google, I wasn't sure what came of it, so I tried to look into it. So the 3 project stages, I'll focus on the results. But essentially, I try to build a test set with videos across different popularity levels, so newer videos that haven't been watched so much, older videos that have been watched a whole lot, and see if there's any differences or any patterns in there. And I ran some programs to see the source of this data. So if I download the videos at home, where are they coming from? If I download them from school, where are they coming from? And I compare the results, and I'll describe the patterns later. So the test set is across 5 popularity levels, and the upload dates are between 2006 when YouTube started until the present time. So I had videos across the full range. So the data collection, I ran some programs. A couple of them were publicly online. Anybody can use them. And then I basically just did a simple tracing of where this program downloaded YouTube. Normally you open a browser, you put in a URL, it starts playing in the browser. However, I was trying to get to the source of the video, not of the bigger web page. So I needed to use a couple of tools to get to that. So these are the locations, that was right as I hoped. Locations actually ran this from. So it becomes more interesting when you look, if I download a video here and my friend in California downloads a video, does anything different happen? And with videos downloading very quickly, you'd expect that people in California might download a little differently than me, because we get them in a very, very short amount of time. So I managed to run the video with the help of a lot of friends from locations across the US and across Europe. And the ones highlighted in yellow are corporate networks. So they're really university networks, but it qualifies corporate networks, which are special because they have higher internet speed, they have a higher subscription level, so they might have a different pattern, and I'll talk about what that is later. So as far as results, each computer physically has an IP address that's connected to the internet, and when you address it or when you communicate with a computer, it addresses through this IP address. So for what my programs did, just for every link it extracted the IP address it was finding that video from, and that's how I created the connection. Tracer is just a simple command that, given an IP address, it tries to find that IP address through the internet. So it's really just kind of a search method. And so I use traceroute to see where these IPs were from. It's a tedious method, and it's somewhat inaccurate because not all IPs like you to know where they are. So I had to use some indirect methods, but that's kind of where that went. And as far as results go, YouTube videos come from 3 different main locations. One is where YouTube and Google are located, which is Mountain View and San Mateo, California, which is Silicon Valley. Google data centers, which are not extremely publicly disclosed, but there are a lot of very certain indicators. They're spread across the country, and they're starting to have some in Europe, but not as many. And then finally, the last bullet that doesn't appear there is cache locations in different internet providers. And what cache means is that a video may be copied in a location very close to your own internet provider so that you can access it much quicker. And that depends on popularity and how recently it was accessed, things like that. So this is just kind of an example. I'm not going to go very much in depth into this, but the idea is that when you access a video, everybody across the whole world will use the same URL in their internet browser to get to it. However, depending on where you are, that URL may direct you to a different machine name, which is the host name. So it thinks it's going to a different computer depending on where you access it. However, behind this name, while we normally expect just one IP address, there's all these other IP addresses hidden depending on the geographic location, and that's where it gets very interesting. Normally, your machine, or even at Purdue as an example, every computer has a name and an IP address, so when you want to access it or communicate by internet with it, that name corresponds to an IP address. However, what Google does is it hides all these IP addresses behind one single name, so it makes it easier to make access much more local. So as far as geographic results, I pinpointed locations that I actually found videos in. And if you remember a few slides ago, these locations are very, very close to download locations from before. So we have, on the West Coast, we have right around San Mateo and Mountain View, we have servers there, which are the headquarters. Then the other locations you see in blue are locations of Google data centers that I was able to find. And then some locations in yellow across Europe and also in Arizona are locations of these internet service providers having copies of videos locally so that access is even quicker. And so in big lines, the conclusions would boil down to the fact that internet service provider plays a significant role in the way the video is downloaded. So what that means is, for example, if you're in Lafayette and you subscribe to Verizon or Coffehouse, your video could come from different places because of their commercial agreements, and that's pretty important. This is highlighted for some reason, but if you can tell, the second and the third columns, the IP addresses these videos come from is completely different, and that's because one is downloaded from a Verizon user and one is from a Comcast user. So what this means for you is that you may have a faster connection with Verizon, for example, than some Comcast user, but maybe the Comcast connection still gets to the video faster just because it's in a different location. So that's a pretty interesting conclusion from that. Again, caching is copying the videos closer to you. So I've seen strong caching patterns in accessing a certain video from a location closer to the user. And examples of that, for example, in Munich, all the videos downloaded from Munich were in this Frankfurt area data center. And then some videos down from Romania. Romania doesn't have a data center, but they're all grouped together in very, very close locations in Frankfurt. So it's a download closer to the source of the user, which is what we expect. And finally, multiple access attempts to the same data may improve access. So if I start downloading the video again and again, if I'm really passionate about, I don't know, a Backstreet Boys video that I watch again and again and again, I don't know, I'm just giving an example. Maybe, at some point, the network will realize I'm downloading this video again and again from Ireland, and it's not the most efficient thing, so a copy of the video will be made closer to me. And to illustrate that point, that disappeared. I'm sorry about that. So, I had my end run 3 different tests, and I don't know why that doesn't show. 3 different tests on the same data in Seattle, in consecutive, every couple of hours. And what I noticed is initially she was downloading a lot of information from the West Coast, but also from Virginia, from Miami, and Houston. That's where the videos were located initially. As she ran it again and again, more and more videos were downloaded from the West Coast, and it was a very clearly increasing pattern. So what I'm expecting is she keeps downloading the same video, the same 250 videos I sent her. Eventually she'll end up downloading just close to her, which will make it more efficient. She'll spend less time waiting for the videos to be downloaded.